Hello, everyone. We're going to get started in just a moment. My name is Angela Holly. I'm Director of Student Opportunities here at COE, and you are attending our TRIO Future Leaders Summit informational webinar. I'm going to go ahead and advance the slide in the event, in the event that you want to change the language with which you are viewing today's presentation. We do have the option for you to change the translation for the captions so that you can listen to what we have to say today and see that in your own preferred language. Again, we will get started in just a moment. While we're waiting, if you will go ahead and put your name, institution in the chat. I'd love to know where everybody's coming from today as we get started. Hopefully you are able to put things in the chat. If you're not able to put in the chat, drop it in the Q&A. Let me know if you're not able to enter information in the chat. We'll see if we can enable that. Oh, now I'm seeing everybody. Like, again, if you'll just enter your name and your institution where you're from. So I see someone from Wichita State. Got someone from North Carolina. I hope your weather is a little warmer than what I have today. We are right at 3 o'clock. I know that a couple people are probably going to be joining us, but in the interest of your time, I know this is a very busy season for everyone. I'm going to go ahead and advance our slides and get started. Again, my name is Angela Holly, Director of Student Opportunities here at COE, and we're really excited to get to offer you information about this new initiative that we have. A couple of reminders is that we will be recording today's session, and you will receive that along with a copy of the slides following the webinar. I will tell you that the individual who typically processes and gets the webinars recording set up for us is out of the office this week, so you may not get it until next week, but you will have access to this. Also, we're going to place a copy of this recording and the slides on our COE website. As we move forward today, I'm going to give you a lot of information, maybe more than you even wanted to know. But if you have questions, if you'll put those in the Q&A, I have two screens going and I'm trying to balance being able to look back and forth. So if you put those in the Q&A, that will kind of help me reassure that I can answer those questions for you. So what to expect today? We're going to cover a great deal, as I mentioned. First of all, is what to expect from the event. What are the benefits of having your students attend? We're going to look at a sample agenda just so you can get an idea of the content of the event. Talk about student eligibility, the actual application process, how we will select students. We'll go over the cost and what are some potential funding sources to help cover that cost. So what to expect? We want this to be an event that is very engaging, hands-on, interactive, and where students walk away with some skill sets that they can use outside of just the TRIO Future Leaders Summit. So one is we want to help them connect. Very important, we have a really strong relationship with our alumni association here in the area, so they'll definitely have the opportunity to connect with TRIO alumni, not only here, but also talk about that connection on a national level. They will interact with policy experts, with their legislators, and they're going to really be exploring a lot about career opportunities in public policy. That is one of the main focuses of the event. We're going to discover enhancing opportunities for success through career skill development. One of the things that we really want from this is for students to go back home and what they've learned, be able to apply that in terms of their major or their career. We also are going to have the opportunity for them to explore graduate schools so that if they want to go on to pursue a master's or other levels of degree, they will have the opportunity to interact with those institutions, and also really getting them information about how to find internships, particularly those related to public policy and advocating. We're also going to help them strategize. One of the things that you're going to be doing is really working closely with a peer group to work on their presentations. They're going to be evaluating actual political case studies. That is something where they'll go in, they'll research, they'll really do analysis on that, and then they'll present as part of that research. Obviously, the other core component of this is advocacy. And I really want to illustrate it as advocacy, not lobbying. We are teaching students how to advocate, not just on TRIO, but advocacy through various aspects of their life. So they're going to learn about local, state, and national policy issues, how to support innovative change through research, communication, and partnership building. We also are going to really engage them in strategic thinking. That is so that they can gain an objective perspective to make informed decisions and enhance goals and outcomes. And so there's a lot of activities that we do, in particular our policy lab, where they're doing that policy analysis, where it's going to involve a lot of strategic thinking on their part. Team building will be a key component, a skill that they will definitely walk away with. This is going to mirror a little bit of what we've done with our National Student Leadership Congress, but at a much higher level. For an example, when we do that event and students work in teams, it's really an opportunity where they get to learn about communicating with people from different backgrounds, where they have to come to agreement on some difficult issues. And so from that, they definitely learn some strong communication skills and also with conflict resolution. Also adaptability. We want them to have the tools and strategies for managing in dynamic environments. They're going to have to adapt here in terms of what they're doing in those presentations, but also sometimes in terms of the other activities that we're offering as well. Innovation. We want them to really use their critical thinking skills and problem solving skills. And that is particularly important, again, in those policy labs. But again, will also be utilized throughout the conference with the various workshop sessions that we host. One of the other key components we want them to walk away with is networking skills, getting to understand how connections really help to foster knowledge, but also partnership building. And then finally, personal growth, a stronger sense of self-awareness. This is particularly true. I myself am a TRIO alum, first-gen student, understanding the role of how imposter syndrome can impact a student when they're, looking forward to careers and looking forward to graduate schools. And so we want to be able to help them develop that, address that, have more confidence in who they are as a student. We're also going to let them explore DC. That's the fun part. Nobody wants to come here just to work the entire time. So we do build in some time to let them explore the city. We find that many students have not had the opportunity to be here. It's a beautiful city. It's one that I've come to love myself. And so definitely want to share that with students. And lastly, we really want them to walk away with being able to leverage transferable skills in terms of career. When students actually complete the event, we will provide to them a handout that will outline the skill sets that they obtained while they were here and how they can be able to list those on a resume. So we want to be able for them to not just have a good experience while they're here, get to know good people, but also be able to apply that in terms of their future educational plans or career plans. So we're going to look a little bit at what this agenda is going to look like. Now, you'll notice that the word sample is at the top. This is a pretty good outline of what we're going to do, but we have had some really exciting partnerships develop here recently that are going to adjust our schedule just slightly, but this will give you the core components of what we hope to do. So the initial day of travel will be Sunday, April 13th. So students would arrive here between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. Now we know, depending on where you're flying from, that sometimes you can't get the flights that fit within those windows. We will work with you on that, but we really do want to start that day because we have so much to accomplish around 4 p.m. So if you can get the flights booked at that time, it's great, but we're also willing to work with you. We also will do our welcome and introductions that day where they'll really get to know their teammates in terms of their case studies that will be broken down into subgroups. And they'll start doing an overview of those case studies, getting the information, starting to map out their research plan and working with their team. And then that evening, because we want everybody to be comfortable with each other, really have a strong sense of team connectedness here, we're going to do dinner and also a social activity to kind of help create that team atmosphere. On Monday, we'll be doing a variety of workshops. The core components of those are pursuing careers in public policy. We want them to have good information about what that looks like. Building connections, that goes back to that networking aspect. And then also learning a little bit about TRIO's impact on educational policy and what that has looked like historically. They'll spend a great deal of time in their case study labs working on their projects with their teams. And then that night, again, wanting to get out and explore the city, we will be taking them to the National Mall and the museums at night here in DC. On Tuesday, we'll have more workshops looking at effective mindset strategies for success. That in particular is going to look at those components of being a first generation student and what that looks like when you're going into a space such as an internship experience or a job setting. Also building pathways to your future, understanding how to connect the dots in terms of the information that we are going to be covering and be able to apply that to future plans and goals. We're also going to have a graduate school panel luncheon. So we're going to have various representatives from graduate schools that will speak during lunch. And then we're having an informational fair. During the informational fair, it will not only include graduate schools, but it's going to include some agencies, some career possibilities, information about internships here in the DC area, as well as other locations. So that'll be a very comprehensive event for them to get a lot of great information. Then we'll also prepare for our Hill visits that day. If any of you have had the opportunity to attend policy seminar with us, you know you need to prepare. You need to get ready for your what you're going to say. And so we'll be working on that afternoon. And then that evening, one of my favorite events, we incorporated this last year with our pre-college event, is a TRIO alumni networking dinner. It is an opportunity for them to actually get to engage with TRIO alumni, hear from them in terms of their own personal journeys, and then actually have one-on-one time just to talk to them and get their kind of a mentoring component, if you will. And then again, they'll be working on those case studies. On Wednesday is the big day when we hit the Hill. They will be visiting with their senators and representatives. Again, this is not lobbying. We are in no way, shape, or form going to be lobbying. These are simply opportunities for students to visit with their senators, representatives, share about why they're here at this event. Also talk to them about their respective careers, how they got involved in those careers, and any advice that they might have for them. We're also going to tour the Capitol building on that same day, and then we'll go back. They will actually get to do their case study presentations, and then we'll have our closing dinner and recognitions. On Thursday, students will depart somewhere between 7 a.m. and noon. The reason why I say by noon is that we do provide ground transportation from the hotel back to the airport. So we will make sure that all students are back to the airport by noon. If they have a later flight that day, then that is the only transportation that we'll be providing. Any transportation that they would want to do independently from that becomes at their own cost. So student eligibility, how can a student, how can they be considered for this event? They need to be an undergraduate, sophomore, or junior actively participating in a TRIO Student Support Services program or a TRIO Ronald E. McNair Post-Baccalaureate program. I have had several questions from many of you about community college students. Yes, TRIO SSS community college students are eligible to apply if they meet that sophomore status and plan to transfer to a four-year institution. All students need to demonstrate a minimum of a 3.0 GPA, and all majors are encouraged to apply. Obviously, we're going to be doing a lot in terms of policy and advocacy. And so, yes, political science majors may find this beneficial and what have you, but we have many aspects of all majors can be involved in terms of advocacy and applying. Actually, one of our most recent interns that we are bringing into the fold here is getting ready to go to medical school and will be working on Capitol Hill. So from all backgrounds, there can come some really strong policy and advocacy work. All applications can be completed online. You'll have the live link here. I'll also have a QR code at the end of the presentation so that you'll be able to access that. But if you go on our webpage under student opportunities, you will see under that the link for TRIO Future Leaders Summit. One thing to note here is you may have multiple students from your institution apply. However, this does not guarantee that all students will be selected. So it is an application process. We're going to talk about what that's going to look like. So if you have 3 or 4 students that actually apply, only one of those may be selected. Each student has to respond to 3 essay prompts, which we're going to talk about shortly. They need to submit a letter of recommendation from a TRIO staff member who can speak to their academic standing and personal character. I really want to emphasize this is that, sometimes we get letters of recommendation and you can tell that maybe that individual doesn't have a real close working relationship with the student. It is important. These letters are actually factored in when the review team is looking at their applications is to make sure that you make that letter very personal, that you talk about them in terms of their academic standing, but also their character. Are they a hard worker? Are they dedicated? Those types of things that are very unique to your knowledge of your students. And also the same thing for college faculty. We would like a letter from a faculty member who can at least talk about their academic standing in terms of that particular course, for example, and that would maybe know some of the personal characteristics in terms of, again, maybe their work ethic or work that they might be doing with that particular faculty member. Now, the essay prompts. There are 3 essay prompts. These are very important. These are very core components of the rubric that will be used to score the applications. The first one is, what is your definition of leadership? The second, please provide a detailed account of a situation in which you assumed a leadership role and what you learned from that experience. And finally, the Future Leader Summit emphasizes preparing students to pursue leadership roles and professional careers related to public policy. Explain why you're interested in advocacy and public policy. So those are the 3 prompts that the students will be asked to respond to. I want to talk a little bit about the essays. One of the things that I'm seeing in my role here as Director of Student Opportunities is that students are struggling with quality of essays. And so I really want to start incorporating in a section in any presentation I do that involves essay writing, is to understand that it is a very critical part during the application evaluation. Students need to really think out their responses and answer the question in its entirety. It's important to stay very focused on the task at hand and answer the question that is asked. The other thing is student voice is important. We live in a world that is full of technology. We can use AI for a variety of things. I actually love using AI when I'm writing to kind of help get my thoughts organized, but it should not replace the students' genuine thoughts and feelings. These are questions that are very personal questions about their experiences, so that we need to have that content. The last thing that I want to talk about with essays is proofreading is essential. Make sure that either you as a staff are reviewing those essays, or if not, if you have a tutor that could review them or a faculty member that could review them, but make sure that those students are having those essays proofread. This is a little different caliber of events, and so we want to make sure that when our review team is looking at those essays, that they are the highest quality that they can be. Student selection. So we will have an external review team. That is not something that I will select the students nor anyone here on COE staff. We will use a rubric and they will score the applications based on that rubric. We'll use a scoring rank. The top 30 applicants will be identified and a letter of notification will then be sent to them to let them know that they have been accepted, but they need to confirm if they're still interested in attending. So while we're waiting on that confirmation, we will not notify the remainder of the students while we're waiting to make sure that those 30 can attend, because then we'll just start moving individuals up if someone cancels based on that rank. Now, upon confirmation of their attendance, letters will be sent to the remainder of the applicants to notify them of their status. We will have a wait list so that if positions should open for a variety of reasons, students sometimes have emergencies that come up that they can't attend, that we'll have that wait list there, and then also students who just did not meet the selection criteria at this time. The timeline for student selection, I wanted you guys to be aware of this. January 13th, 2025, the applications closed. We did extend this deadline. We know that it's a very busy time of year for students as well as yourself. And so that's been extended. It will close that day at 6 p.m. Eastern time. So the application is in a database, so it will shut off at 6 p.m. So make sure that you have everyone have those submitted prior to then. The application review will take place January 14th through 17th. That's when that committee will be reviewing and scoring those applications. They will then let me know what the top 30 students, who those individuals are. I will send out those notifications on the 21st. And then those students will have a week to kind of decide if this is definitely an event that they want to attend. So on the 28th, they'll have to confirm their attendance. They'll complete a form to do that. And then on the 31st of January, we will notify every student who was not in that initial 30 students selected. Okay. Someone says my presenter view is showing. Thank you, Woody. I thought I swapped it, but we'll swap it again. All right. So Next on the list is talking about cost. And I know that this can be of great concern. I was a former SSS director myself. I understand how those budgets can be pretty stringent. So the registration fee is $2,000. That includes the following. So that includes all lodging. We will be staying at a hotel. We will not be on a college campus because obviously at that point, a lot of the colleges are in session. So we will be staying at a hotel near the campus of American University. All of their meals from the time that they land here until the time that they head back out Thursday morning, every meal is covered. And that also includes snacks. I always make sure they're well fed. Ground transportation. So we will pick them up from the airport. Every travel that we do away from that hotel, that transportation is provided all throughout DC. They do not have to worry about that expense. Any activity fees that we may incur with any of the activities. So for example, that opening night, we know that we're going to do an activity together. So that will get covered with that cost. Any instructional materials that we provide is also included in that cost. So it's pretty comprehensive. And if you know the cost of lodging here in DC, you know that $2,000 is still a pretty reasonable cost given how much that our lodging expenses can be here. And what the fee does not include is student transportation to and from Washington, D.C. That would then become the responsibility of the program. Also, student meals while traveling to and from Washington, D.C. would have to be taken care of. And then also any baggage fees associated with air or trade travel. So we're going to talk about, because again, I've had a lot of questions that have come in about this, and I want to make sure that we're kind of going over this. The registration fee. Now, keep in mind, this registration fee includes all of that I just listed, your housing, your meals, all of those types of things. That is an allowable cost. Your meals during travel to and from the event, those do require prior approval. However, we're going to talk about some ways maybe you could get that covered by other means. Now, I realize, this is a cost. You're going to make this investment. How do you get the return on your investment? You invest this money in this student or students to attend. What can that mean in terms of coming back and giving to your program? There are a lot of options. For one, your student can kind of become the trainer. After the event, they could come back and conduct workshops or content for their peers, which would be great to have that information shared out with your other students. They could, after their experience conducting a policy lab, is that an event that they could come back and do for students within your programs? Again, could be some additional programming that they could help sponsor. Could they conduct a presentation for key individuals on campus? This would be a great opportunity to highlight what your programs are doing and the quality of your students. The other thing they could do, they're going to do a lot of alumni engagement here. Maybe they come back and they want to help develop an alumni association for your program. There are a variety of ways that you can use the skill sets that they receive here to be able to come back and really advance your programs as well. So we're talking about potential funding, knowing that funding for airline and those kinds of things may be difficult. We do have a comprehensive document on our website that allows students to kind of map out and plan how they would approach the process of seeking funding. And that's it's a really comprehensive document. It gives them outline of how to develop a budget, etc. So what are some potential funding sources? One is there may be several sources on your own campuses, depending on academic departments. For example, if that student is a political science major, does the political science department have funds available to help sponsor students to attend conferences? The financial aid office, are there additional scholarship funds that maybe could be helpful? Your student affairs office, oftentimes there is some money set aside there again to help students with professional development or attend conferences. Or other campus-based organizations. And that might be any types of clubs, student government, or something of that nature that could be potential sources to seek funding. And then also community-based agencies, clubs, and local government agencies. Rotary clubs, Lions clubs, VFWs are all great places to seek potential donations. County commissioner offices. This is one that I personally experienced and had no idea that they offered funds, but I have, when I was a program director, I wanted to take students to a leadership conference, happened to know the county commissioner, and they said that they give out funds to help students with student leadership. And so that ended up paying for half my students to go. So sometimes they're in offices that you may not expect. Any professional organizations that you may be a part of, that could include your own state TRIO associations, but also other professional organizations. And perhaps their faith-based organizations may have funds and willing to sponsor. Also, local businesses. These may be businesses that either directly connect with the students' career plans, or it may be a business that perhaps that student frequents or your program frequents that you could seek some support from them. Also, family and friends. Now, I was low income first generation. I was a TRIO student myself. I would not have been able to ask my family for any money, my immediate family. But I did have an aunt who had a little more money than we did. I could have asked her. So there may be some family members there that you could request. There may be friends or friends of the family that want to help contribute. There may be TRIO program alumni from your program that you could reach out to that wanted to kind of pay it forward and invest in a student. They also can consider fundraisers, but I'm interested. I've talked a lot, and people will tell you that I do that really well. But can you drop in the chat any ideas that you might have, other ideas for potential funding sources to help students attend an event like this? You know, you guys are clever and you have ideas. I do see a question. I'll go ahead and answer right there. Is the fee due by January 13th? No, the fee is not due by January 13th. So you do not have to worry about that initially. The student can apply and then go through and do some research on some of these ways that they could potentially pay for the event. Well, barring that anybody else doesn't have any ideas right now to share, I'm going to go ahead and move forward. So when students get ready to actually go and request funds, ooh, GoFundMe. That's a great one, Woody. Thank you for sharing that. The one thing they want to do is develop a budget. Yeah, you know what the registration fee, it's $2,000. We know, you'll have airfare fees, but are there other expenses that you need to consider? Is a student going to need gas mileage from their house to the airport and back? There could be any number of expenses depending on the type of event. So make sure that they develop a budget of what they need. This helps them be a little bit more clear about when they're going to actually make the ask, and explain how the funds will be used. Again, that form that you'll find on our website maps this out step by step, but they're going to want to explain to someone that when they're requesting the money, how that money will be used. It's not enough to just say, I would like $2,000 to go to this event. Explain what that event does. What is the student going to gain from the event? Be very deliberate about that. We also have a sample letter that students can utilize when making that request. So again, you'll have that rough draft of the agenda. They might want to include an agenda so that people can actually see what the event contains, and also might help kind of identify how attending the conference can meet their long-term career goals. So that is an overall summary. We already had one great question. Oh, somebody said bake sales too. That's always a good one. I'd love to buy baked goods. I would definitely help sponsor. Okay. And again, the question came, is this an allowable cost for grant funds? We have funds budgeted for conference attendance in our grant. Again, I'm going to go back a few slides and let you see that again, just to make sure that we have addressed that well. I guess my computer seems to be moving a little slow. So again, allowable costs, we've actually given you the OMB citation there. Again, we talked about those meals to and from would have to have prior approval from a program officer, but I think there's a lot of other ways that we just listed that you could do that without having to really, perhaps just have someone sponsor those meals for students. And that way it doesn't become an issue. Any other questions? And again, I appreciate the question about when students will have to pay. When we send those final notices on the 31st, that will also be the time that we will send those invoices out to students who have been accepted. The student will get a copy, you will get a copy. And so that way you're both informed in terms of what that's going to look like. But you'll have a little bit of time there to continue to work toward getting the funds that you need to attend. However, if you have students in mind, I would not wait until you receive that invoice to start planning. I would go ahead now and start working with your students to kind of develop an action plan so that if they're selected, they are ready to go in terms of being able to raise the funds for the event. Any other questions? This just missing, I have just really covered this thoroughly. That's how I'm going to take this if there aren't any questions. That, or I've bored you to tears. I hope it's not that one. Again, you can see here, there's a QR code that's part of this that you can access so that you can have your students scan and goes directly to the actual application. Again, you can find all of this on our website as well. So if you have any questions after the fact today, feel free to contact me. My contact information will be included. And again, most of you have already contacted me, which I appreciate, but I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat too, just in case you need it. I am far more responsive by email. I'm just going to be honest with you. I don't know what happened. I think perhaps living with my children has caused me to no longer want to communicate by phone because they will not communicate with me by phone. But go ahead and feel free to reach out to me at any point in time. We'd love to have your students here. These experiences with pre-college students that I've witnessed have been life-changing. Actually, I just had a student yesterday contact me who participated in our pre-college version of this about 2 years ago and said, hey, I am now at this college. I'm doing this in terms of my degree, and I want to come back and be an advisor for that event. So students do stay engaged, they stay connected. It's also a way for them to start connecting to TRIO alumni throughout the country. So it's developing networks for them beyond just what your programs can offer as well. Really life-changing, impactful for them and for me. I enjoy having your students here. Any questions? Okay, I've kept it short and sweet. You're going to get 30 minutes of your life back from this. So again, if you have questions, feel free to reach out to me. I appreciate you being here today and appreciate you considering sending your students to the event. And with that, if I don't have any other questions, I'm going to go ahead and end our webinar for today. Latanya, you are very welcome. Same for you, Ashley. It's my pleasure. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of your day.